Morning all. We'll be starting the session very shortly. We'll just give it another 30 seconds. Morning all. I think we'll make a start. So welcome all. Thanks so much for joining. Just wanted to say this is the first of 5 webinars for Carers Week. So very pleased to be kicking this off with young carers being the focus of this morning. Just a brief bit of housekeeping before I hand over to my colleague Susan. The first thing to mention is that please do use the Q&A function, which you can see hopefully in the top corner throughout the session. What we'll try and do is answer queries live as they come through. If we can't answer anything today, we'll take it away and get back to you as soon as we can. We'll also be recording this session, so this will be available on YouTube afterwards. Again, we'll send a link out so you've got access to that, and you can either watch that or share that with colleagues if needed. And then, yeah, the final thing just to say is that we're really pleased to have so many people on the call. We know that young carers is a very important area for the council, for wider partners as well. We know there are thousands of young carers across Essex, and it's so important we get that support right. So really pleased to have my colleague Susan join us to talk about some of the really good work going on in this space. So Susan joins us from the council's youth service as a schools development coordinator. So Susan, over to you, please.
Yes, good morning. Great to be here and lovely to be here as part of a bite-sized intro to young carers. I'm actually the schools development officer for 2 quadrants in Essex, and my role really is to embed best practice within schools and other partner organisations across the county, and also to highlight what it means to be a young carer. And I've been doing this around the county for the last 4 or 5 years with colleague Danielle, who looks after the north and west of the county, and I am around for mid and south. So let's have a look at what we're doing this morning. So really what I want to get across is some of the key facts about young carers, and especially about what support is available to them around the county and how you can access that. And also, as Ben has said previously, at any time, if you do have questions, you have the Q&A function that you can use, and hopefully I'll be able to answer your questions, but if not, I'll always be able to get back to you. So one of the key things that I want to get across today is the number of young carers that there are in the UK. And there's quite old data knocking around young carers, and that is that there were 800,000 secondary school pupils that were acting as young carers in England. But then along came the school census, and there were obviously issues with the school census because they gave us data in the first year that there were approximately 128,000 young carers recorded in both England and Wales. So a bit of disparity there. But more recent survey actually looks at the figure of nearly 1 million young carers across the UK. So again, what that tells you is nobody really knows the number at the moment. And the numbers that are coming up in the school census show that there are many young carers that perhaps are hidden. So that's the first key fact. And if we go on, I want to share with you the fact that there are actually an estimated 2 young carers in every classroom. And they are the ones that are recorded. So other studies tell us that when you walk into a classroom, for those of you that do regularly walk into classrooms, have a look round, because there could be an average of 6 young carers in every secondary school classroom, according to some of the estimates out there. It probably won't come as some surprise that actually our young adult carers, once they leave school, they are twice as likely to be neat. So not in education, employment or training when they actually leave school. Another key fact: 1 in 10 young carers are actually under the age of 10. But if we go on, I think more disturbingly is that actually almost half of those young carers under the age of 10, they get up at least twice during the night to provide care in their home. Another key fact: so young carers are less likely than other children their age to go on to college, university or work when they leave school. So that might not be too much of a surprise, but actually the fact that it's nearly twice as likely, I think, is something to consider. Another key fact for young carers is that they are entitled to a carer's assessment. And again, we'll go on and see exactly what that means for young carers. Young carers miss on average 23 days of school every year. So that's nearly a month in total. So if you're anything like me and you can just about remember your school days, just missing a week at school meant that you could miss a subject entirely. Friendship groups change. You can see how that might have an impact on our young carers. And then again, almost half of our young carers, actually in secondary schools in recent years, they missed at least 10% of their schooling. So 1 day every fortnight that equates to. Again, you can see how this whole fact ball can actually snowball and have a huge impact on young carers and their future life. And then finally, the final key fact, and it'd be really good if you can actually remember one of these key facts and share them with your colleagues. But this last one is the fact that young carers are twice as likely as their peers to experience food poverty, as opposed to 16% of non-carers, 37% you'll see there, are likely to have suffered from food poverty. So that's our key facts, and anyone that's actually attends any more young carers training has got a head start, because those will be the answers to a lot of the quiz questions that we share when we do our training. So what is a young carer? Well, if you don't know already, the official definition of a young carer is a person under the age of 18 who provides or intends to provide care for any other person except for where they are caring for money, a contract, or through voluntary work. Young adults are also to be counted there, and they are between the ages of 16 and 25. Exactly the same thing. They can be caring for anyone in their household. They don't have to be related to them, but they'll be caring for them because of an illness, a disability, mental health condition, or any form of substance misuse. And the one thing that sometimes is overlooked for our young carers is any young carer that translates, whether that's English as a second language or British Sign Language, they too will be providing care. So they're often overlooked. So if we move on there, we talked earlier about the numbers of young carers, and I really wanted to express how significant the under-identification of young carers is nationally and also locally. And we know that the school census actually gave a UK total of 53,000 975 young carers. So that actually had increased from the first year, but we know that 72% of all the schools in the country reported that they had no young carers enrolled. So if you go back to the original data, where we know that there were the average of 2 in every classroom, we know that this is a massive underestimation or identification of young carers. And that panned out across the UK. In Essex, our figures were, again, very, very low. And we know that because through the census, there were 2,155 young carers actually identified. But as a service, in Essex Youth Service Young Carer Service, we'd received 6,500 referrals. So again, that's quite a staggering underestimation. And that's why part of my role is to highlight how you spot the elusive young carers in your organisations. So once you have been able to identify young carers, what can you do to best support them, mitigate any impact of their situation, and allow them to have the best outcomes possible? And the first thing is to find the relevant support for them. And in the Essex Youth Service, what we provide are the statutory assessments primarily. We are the only organisation that are able to provide the assessments under the Children's Act. We try not to use the word assessment with families, because what we aim to do is to provide a bespoke package to best support them and help them achieve the best outcomes. One of the parts of our service is a confidential one-to-one mentoring support, whereby a young person would have a key worker that can meet with them, whether that's in school, home, or any other appropriate place, and where our key workers can offer a significant amount of mentoring, but also offer a package of care to allow them to meet other young carers, and that might be through recreational activities. I, for one, have played laser tag more times than I probably want to admit to with young carers. And we also have provided overnight residentials. We've had learn to sail opportunities for our young carers in recent years. But one of the core offerings that we have is a menu of activities throughout school holidays to ease the pressure on families where there are young carers. We also design workshops, and that could be around any one of a number of key learnings that young carers might need. So it could be first aid, paediatric first aid, safely moving people, but we also run personal development for young carers. So there will be confidence building, self-esteem building opportunities that we offer our young carers. We also provide, as I said earlier, a high level of training for other organisations, and this is all free and run very regularly for education. We run online training for school staff, but there's a real concerted effort to get out there and meet with social care and health colleagues to raise the profile. Again, all of these are a free resource. So if you are interested in having someone come to you and talk about young carers and raise the profile, then do please get in touch afterwards. If you put your details in the Q&A, then we can mop those up and get in touch later. But the key deliverable really is to look at good practice. Good practice in identification, good practice in support around young carers. And we do that with both schools and colleges through the nationally recognised Young Carers in Schools Award, which looks at ways in which you can improve the education in school for school staff, but also look at the best ways to support young carers whilst they're in education or educational settings. And we're really pleased in Essex that schools have really engaged with that programme, and very proud to say that at one point in Essex we had more awards in Essex than the rest of the country put together. That goes up and down, as you can imagine. But it is a really good sign of the way in which Essex schools have embraced the award and continue to embrace it. In fact, when the Children's Society and the Carers Trust, who actually co-facilitate the award, were looking to design a new version, they came to Essex and Essex schools to help them put that together. So we're really very proud of the work that we've done around that. So that's the Essex Youth Service and what we do. But one of the key things is the so what. Why do we do it? How can we measure that actually the effort, time and money that we're putting into this has outcomes that we're looking for? Well, we've done extensive work, not only ourselves, but the Children's Society and the Carers Trust through their award. And we know through their research that actually raising the profile and the education around young carers in educational settings, we know that it reduces stress, not only for the young carers, but actually for the school staff, because they know more about how to help in the best ways possible. We also know where this best practice is integrated into a school, that they consistently see better attendance and higher attainment, more young carers going on to higher education and further education. We know that better family relationships are a really consistent outcome where we have key workers working with a family. And then we know that the mental health, although we don't measure in the same way perhaps as a counselling service, because that's not what we are, we know that our anecdotal evidence gives us a consistent improvement in mental health outcomes for our young people. So I think it goes without saying that actually having an intervention like the Young Carer Service improves a broad range of outcomes. But we don't do it in isolation. If you move on to the next slide, you'll see that actually we have some significantly impactful partners in the voluntary sector across Essex, and there's some of them there. And I'd like to share with you what they do, but what I will say up front, and the caveat is that the best people to talk to you about the services offered are those services. But if we go through to the next slide, we'll see that Carers First are offering online support for young carers. Not only that, they provide school packs, and those school packs really are a great way of introducing school staff to young carers and what's available. They also specialise in young adult carer email support programme, where they will share information on benefits, etc., support packages that are appropriate around young adult carers. But to find out exactly what's being offered at this point in time, again, you can go to the Carers First website, and I believe that all those details of the organisations that I'm talking to you about will be put in your chat. So the next organisation that we deal with is Action for Family Carers, and we know that they run clubs and from there there'll be referrals into our organisation, and from our organisation into the club's Action for Family Carers. They too do one-to-one and group work, and they have been specialising in transition support, which we know is a really difficult time for young carers as they graduate into work or into secondary school. Again, trips and activities which are so important for relationship building in peer groups for young carers, and they too provide young adult carer support. Next, we have Cool Carers, and they run clubs in Brentwood and Basildon, and again they too have one-to-one and group sessions, but they also use their time to advocate for families with young carers and will support them. They also liaise with schools and make sure that there's effective support for young carers, and where there are difficulties potentially in school, they will advocate for the young carer. And then we move on to the YMCA, and we're really pleased that the YMCA club in Chelmsford is back up and running and providing respite and activities for young carers regularly. And finally, Scarfed. And Scarfed are huge supporters within the Rochford district, Rayleigh and Rochford. And they are really quite pioneering some of the work that they've done, working to provide young carer passports in their schools. The majority of schools in their area now have passports that allow young carers to actually use their time with their schools, so they don't have to continue to repeat what they are, what their situation is, and the schools themselves can use that time, those passports, for any concessions that they might have. So homework concessions or using phones, etc. Might be a way in which they can support their young carers. They also run the Young Carers in Schools Award for their, and support that within their area. And they also provide a broad range of awareness and support training for other organisations. So again, I urge you to go and see and visit their websites and get in contact with them for their latest programme of events. And then really my job here is just to wrap up and make sure that the key messages and key takeaways are there for you. And I think I've been quite blunt in the fact that our young carers are mostly hidden, and we have a job to do in order to identify them and make sure that they have the best support possible. Raising the profile of young carers in your organisations is going to chip away at that under-identification. And the end result, I think, it is always going to be improved outcomes for our young carers. And how do you get in touch with the Young Carer Service at Essex? Well, the best way to do that is via our email, young.carers@essex.gov.uk. But also you can make referrals to our organisation via our website, and you'll have all the details hopefully in the chat there. But if you have any questions about anything that's been covered today, then you're more than welcome to get in touch for further information, and my email is there too, and a QR code onto our website. So I think the key thing for me to leave you with, apart from young carers, is the wonderful programme of events that have been organised for Carers Week. And you'll see on the screen there that you have 4 more bite sizes available to you. Support for adult carers, it will be on Tuesday, and supporting carers of people with dementia on Wednesday. And then this advocacy support for carers by Voiceability on Thursday. And finally, employer support for carers on Friday the 13th of June. I don't know if there has been any questions in the Q&A.
Thanks, Susan. Just one that's come through now saying, do you link in with other teams and departments?
Teams and departments in Essex within Essex County Council, do you mean, Ben?
It doesn't say, but I'm assuming so, yes.
Very much so, yes. So especially within social care and education, we deal very much with those two areas. If there's any specific one department that you were interested in finding out, then obviously you can email me and find out more.
I think that's all. Thanks, Susan.
Sure.
And Natty, if you can just go to the next slide, please, just while people are potentially booking onto the other webinars, just to also mention that we do have a number of other projects through the Carers Community Funds. So we were able to fund quite a few projects across the county for supporting carers. And actually, if you just don't mind going to the next slide, please, Natty, just as an example. I won't go through these all now because of time, but essentially there's quite a few different projects in there, ranging from both young carers specific projects, but also adult carers as well. We will make sure that information is included in the slide pack when it gets sent out, not necessarily for going through now, but just so you've got access to it to see there's some really good local initiatives going on there. It was very much aimed at supporting carers in the community with that extra bit of support that a local provider might need. So please do have a look to see if any of those projects might benefit any carers, young or old, that you're supporting, and please do link in if so. So again, we'll make sure that's included in the pack. But just to close by saying thank you so much to everyone for listening. Thank you so much to Susan for presenting and talking about the brilliant work going on, both within the youth service, but also across wider partners as well. And hopefully see you at a future webinar. Thanks all, speak soon.